You're listening to Nationwide 90 FM. The time is
9 o'clock.
Factual, insightful, and credible. It's Nationwide News Now at 9.
Good morning, I'm Andrew Cannon. Coming up in the news at 9 for this Sunday morning, October 13, 2024. The National Road Safety Council is set to become a committee of cabinet. Council for the Ferry Hill Division in Portland, Atlee Clearly, is calling for a partial reopening of the popular food establishment Boston Jerk Center. Government declares its all systems go for the start of the Spark program. In news from the region, UNICEF's representative to the Eastern Caribbean, Pierre Toboult, has called for more support to ensure girls are safe and have the same chances as boys. On the international scene, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu tells UN peacekeepers in southern Lebanon to withdraw immediately. While in sports, Bournemouth's unbeaten 62 helps England thrash Scotland in the Women's T20 tournament. The details after this.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
The National Road Safety Council is set to become a committee of cabinet. Vice Chairman of the National Road Safety Council, Dr. Lucian Jones, indicated that the move is to further strengthen structures and programs that are geared towards reducing the number of road fatalities on the country's roads. Additionally, by making the council a committee of the cabinet, the government will be seeking to achieve key benchmarks of the World Health Organization (WHO) that target safety measures so that fatal crashes are reduced.
The National Safety Council has submitted to the government a plan to increase the capacity significantly of the council. This against the background of the mandate from WHO that in the second decade of road safety, we need to reduce fatalities by 50% by 2030. That means Jamaica must get down to 216 fatalities, down from 432 in 2020, 216 fatalities by 2030. The capacity review then calls for the government of the country to formalize the National Road Safety Council as a committee of cabinet.
As part of being a committee of cabinet, a National Road Safety Conference will be held. That conference will iron out key deliverables that must be met by ministries, departments and agencies to reduce road fatalities.
This conference will prepare an annual road safety plan, including a budget, which will serve as an input to the GOJ's annual budget cycle. And once the budget is approved by Parliament, then the annual plan will be adjusted if necessary. In this scenario, ministries, departments and agencies will be held accountable to Cabinet for implementation of the plan through the regular National Road Safety Council meetings headed by the Prime Minister. We need to do things differently in this country if we are going to avoid having so many people dying on our roads. We are headed in the wrong direction.
Dr. Lucian Jones, Vice Chairman of the National Road Safety Council. Council for the Ferry Hill Division in Portland, Atlee Clearly, is calling for a partial reopening of the popular food establishment Boston Jerk Center. The facility was ordered closed on September 6 after health inspectors found significant breaches that posed a threat to the well-being of customers. Speaking at the monthly meeting of the Portland Municipal Corporation on Thursday, Chief Public Health Inspector Lorenzo Humes noted that the facility will be reopened once the environmental health issues are satisfied. But Council clearly says vendors who've already met the requirements should be allowed to operate.
Why can't we have those who are ready start their business again? Because food have to eat, school bills, light, water, all those things, and this is what they do for a living. And it's very hard. At this time, it is fair enough that the persons who are ready, let us give them the go-ahead to restart.
The closure has triggered protests from some vendors claiming they're being sabotaged by the health department. However, the department says roughly 47 to 70% of the breaches still persist across different stores 5 weeks later. Council clearly is urging the inspectors to meet the vendors halfway.
Since we asked them to do something, let us find a way now to meet them partway because they have started the process. Because it is really impacting them in a very negative way. Because to be honest with you, the community is right now dead as a result of not having any business. As a matter of fact, this has to be an emergency. We might have to call a meeting immediately to find a way to solve this. Because it cannot continue as usual. Some solution must be found, and the sooner, the better.
Atlee Clearly, Council for the Ferry Hill Division in Portland. The next meeting with the Public Health Department and vendors is scheduled for October 28. Meanwhile, the medical officer of health for Portland, Dr. Sharon Lewis, says the continued closure of the Boston Jerk Center is due to the fact that many of the breaches previously identified remain. She provided clarity on the matter at Thursday's sitting of the Portland Municipal Corporation. Dr. Lewis explained that there were issues over the years with some of the food establishments at the facility and required several interventions. She pointed out that improvements were noted after the various interventions, but these were short-lived. But on September 6th, 3 of the 4 jerk stores were closed due to breaches, while the other was closed a few weeks later. The health officials said the breaches varied among the different stores. These included a lack of food handler permits for some of the vendors, unequipped or malfunctioning hand washing stations at some stores, food contact services being unsuitable for food preparation, improper food handling practices, solid waste disposal and management issues, and unclean surroundings. Dr. Lewis told the council that 47 to 70% of the breaches persisted at different jerk stores, and as a result, they remain closed. She added that another inspection is scheduled. The government has placed a specific timeline on the table for the start of the Shared Prosperity through Accelerated Improvement to Our Road Network SPARK program. It was indicated by the government that the program will get underway this year. Minister with our portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation with responsibility for works, Robert Morgan, is now indicating that all is in place for the start of the highly anticipated project next month.
SPARK was also consultative. We went through all constituencies and engaged with your neighbors, and you chose the roads that we're going to fix. It's going to start this year. By November, we'll be fixing roads in all constituencies, almost in every region of the island.
Meanwhile, Minister Morgan again emphasized that local contractors will be a part of the project.
We have very internationally recognized contractors who will do the work, but they'll also be working with the local contractors so that Jamaicans can be a part of the transformation.
Robert Morgan, Minister with our portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation with responsibility for works. To news on from the region, UNICEF's representative to the Eastern Caribbean, Pierre Bolt, has called for more support to ensure girls are safe and have the same chances as boys. He also urged leaders to listen to girls, protect their rights, and increase funding for programs that focus on girls' education and health. Bolt made the calls as representatives from UNICEF, UN Women, and the U.S. Embassy to Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean came together at the UN House in Marine Gardens, Barbados on Friday for Active Talk, an event to mark International Day of the Girl Child and celebrate the achievements of girls and discuss their challenges. Bolt told the gathering, that included school children, that girls must be at the heart of efforts to create a better, fairer future. He acknowledged the progress made in gender equality and girls' leadership across the region, but said there were still some challenges. To news on the international scene, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has called on the UN chief Antonio Guterres to remove peacekeeping forces in southern Lebanon immediately. Yesterday, the UN interim force in Lebanon said a 5th peacekeeper was injured in southern Lebanon this week. The Lebanese health ministry says 15 people were killed in 3 Israeli attacks yesterday in Deir Bela, Al-Ma'ara, and Barja. The IDF says Hezbollah launched around 320 projectiles from Lebanon into Israel on Saturday. And now to sports. Maya Bouchier made a classy unbeaten 62 as England moved a step closer to the semi-finals of the Women's T20 World Cup with an emphatic 10-wicket win over Scotland. Scotland were playing for pride in their final match of their first World Cup and saved their best batting performance for last as they compiled 109 for 6 in their highest score of the tournament. A measured 33 from Catherine Bryce provided the bulk of the total, while the younger sibling Sarah chipped in with 27 in Sharjah. Sophie Eccleston was the pick of England's bowlers as she claimed 2 for 13, while Lauren Bell, in her first appearance of this World Cup, took 1 for 13. England's opening pair, Bouchier and Danny Wyatt-Hodge, made light work of the target, knocking off the runs in just 10 overs without much trouble. And now for a recap of the top stories making the news at this hour. The National Road Safety Council is set to become a committee of cabinet. Council for the Ferry Hill Division in Portland, Atlee Clearly, is calling for a partial reopening of the popular food establishment Boston Jerk Center. Government declares its all systems go for the start of the Spark program. You can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and on the Nationwide app available on Google Play and the App Store. News is next at midday, but coming up next is Urban Paradise with Diane Ashton Smith.
Undeniable that we should be